heard John Rivers say a biblical worldview, there's a lot of people that are thinking, Kevin, is that even possible in today's day and age? And I do think that it is. And I'm grateful for people like Lila Rose who are out there hounding the media to do its job, hounding the media to be honest, to be faithful in what they report and what they have to say about their activities. But friends, they're just the start of the problem. They're just the beginning. We have got some bigger issues coming fast and furiously at us, particularly those of us that are family-oriented people. And let me just briefly revisit the issue that was it popped up on onenewsnow.com today. In fact, the poll today deals with this story. But friends, it is truly one of the harshest slaps in the face you can understand as a person of faith that we're gonna see in this week, obviously, but in the days to come, in terms of how it deals with what is helpful and what is not helpful for the good of our family, and that's why I want to get to this story that I've been kind of bringing you along with all hour. Yesterday, in the state of California, Governor Jerry Brown signed into law a transgender bathroom bill. Now, if that sounds odd, that's because it is odd. If it sounds somewhat perverse, that's because it is extremely perverse. But what we have going on in California in the context of this bill is the ability for a child to show up at school, to say, today I am feeling like this gender, and then to pick which locker room and which bathroom they will use for the day. When you try to get the people of the state government on the record as to why they even passed this, they won't even talk to you about it. In fact, yesterday, the governor signed the bill into law without comment. Now, I would think that if you're going to go about restructuring the entirety of the gender order in your state's school system, particularly, I don't know, public schools, that the taxpayers are paying for, that if you were going to unilaterally decide that you were going to allow boys to go into the girls' locker rooms and girls to go into the boys' locker rooms, that at some point in time you would probably say, you know what, we should at least alert the public and explain to them why we're doing this. But that's not what happened. Jerry Brown signed this bill into law without public comment yesterday. And as far as I know, there was no survey taken of the California population. Now, some Californians knew about it because there are some watchdogs that seek to keep their eye on what's going on in the legislature there. But what you had was a bunch of activists that came together and said, you know what, we have these kids that they feel like a boy one day and they feel like a girl the next, and if they're in a girl's body, they may feel more masculine, or if they're in a boy's body, they may feel more feminine. And so we have to give them the place and the room for them to be them. We have to let people live by feelings, because living by fact or by DNA or by creation isn't good enough. We have to allow people to do whatever their inclinations and desires are, because who are we to judge that inclinations or desires should ever be limited? Who are we to say that we have the right to morally say that you shouldn't give in to every single feeling that comes into you over the course of your life? And friends, what really just strikes me as odd about all of this is that if we really didn't believe that statement was true, that you shouldn't act upon every impulse that comes into your being, then there's nothing you can't advocate in that regard. People should have a right to kill other people if they're unhappy with them, and people should have the right to thieve from one another if they're unhappy with their current state. Because who are you to say, friends? Understand this, and I want my atheist listeners to give me some sort of response to this. But Who are you to say, if there is no morality, if morality is only something that we, can agree upon, who are you to say, who is your group of friends to say that it is morally inappropriate for you to take something that I own? Who are you to say that I can't come shoplift at your store or take things that you have in your home or your place of business as my own? Who's to say that if you make me angry enough and my feeling is that I want you dead, that I can't have the right to do that? Because if the bottom line is you can't know moral rights or wrongs because it might violate someone's feelings, then friends, there's a whole lot of feelings that people can and do feel, and many of them we ascribe criminal intent and action to. What's the difference? If we live from the basic standpoint that there is no morality, that we are allowed to live only as we feel we should, then you really can't outlaw anything. But in the arena of sexual activity, we have elevated this idea that there is no morality associated with anything related to the act of sex to such a high degree that we have a governor sign a bill without any accountability to the people of his state yesterday to say that high school boys should have the right to use high school girls' locker rooms. Oh, and by the way, specifically to be allowed to shower together. Now, I don't know. Maybe Governor Jerry Brown is completely asexual in his entire universe, or maybe he's so old that he forgets what being sexual was like. But if you've ever been the parent of a high school-aged boy, if you've ever known a high school-aged boy, you pretty much know there's nothing they wouldn't do most days to see high school girls or others naked because of the hormonal surges within their own development at that stage of life, et cetera, et cetera. On onenewsnow.com, when they titled this article, they said, "Stage now set for molestations and privacy violations in California schools." And I can already hear all the activists, that are out there going, "Oh, they're being so over the top. Ha, 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 ha." Yeah, they're going to say that until a girl files a sexual assault claim against a boy who said he was feeling like a girl that day, so he used the girl's locker room, only to get close enough to the girls that he was able to then do something that everyone is going to regret. The One News Now poll, by the way, today is, how would you respond to this if this was in your state? Would you pull your children from public school? By the way, if they could pass it for public schools, why can't they pass laws governing private schools the same way? I mean, when you think about it, if the private school is paying any degree of California tax, what's stopping them from saying all educational institutions here? Would you pack up and leave the state? Or would you demand that local schools increase school security? Because, nothing says safety for girls being violated in the vulnerability of their locker room like a cop parked outside eating his donut. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. But here we have, again, I demonstrated one for you yesterday, the pastor on Long Island disallowed to come and be part of Martin Luther King's commemoration. Why? Because he didn't believe marriage was something that should be redefined. Here you have the schools of California saying, you know what, it doesn't matter what the private morality of girls or boys or families are in our communities. We're going to see to it that boys and girls have the right to use the same bathrooms, to use the same locker rooms. Friends, I saw this bill at the House Assembly level. I spoke out against it there. I saw it go to the state Senate. I spoke out against it there. Now the governor has signed it. And friends, it's just a matter of time until another state decides to adopt the same thinking, the same mentality. This is a slow drip of a cancerous acid that is eating away any of the last bastions of actual moral determination. Very, very soon, we are going to have elected officials and judges saying it doesn't matter if you believe something is immoral or not. You do not have you do not have the right to expect that or to express that. 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. But with the stroke of a pen on Monday, as easy as taking this pen I'm holding in my hand right here and signing his name to a piece of paper, the governor has now said that boys who feel as though that they're questioning their gender, they're confused about their gender identity, that they can now use girls' locker rooms and vice versa. They also, by the way, this is going to be very interesting, they're also allowing each other to play on each other's sports teams. I went to high school with a whole bunch of boys. I am and was a boy. I think it's safe to say that there's going to be massive, massive abuse of this law. And I'm just wondering if there is anybody in Sacramento, or in the entire state of California for that matter, that gave it 1 ounce of thought. So what would you do if it was in your school? Would you pull your children from the public schools? Would that solve it? Would you leave the state altogether? Or would you demand that the schools increase security so that your child wasn't harmed in the using of this law? 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Interested in your thoughts, 888-589-8840. Let's go to Jonathan, who's called us from Louisiana. Jonathan, you're up first on AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. Hi.
How you doing? I was just amazed at this, law that's signed in for so many reasons. But one of the things that I'm really curious about is, what if they can play each other's sports? Does that mean that a small school in Northern California who has a girls' varsity basketball team is going to play another girls' varsity basketball team that's all 6 foot tall boys? I mean, I don't know
if they self-identify as boys. I mean, as girls, under this law, they'll be required to allow them to play on the girls' team.
So all you have to do is persuade somebody to say something that's not even true. It just amazes me that this is even.
Well, Jonathan, think about how the women's sports coaches can now recruit. They go to their boys who are already sexually charged young men. They can say, "Hey guys, guess what? Come out for the girls' team. All you got to do is sign this little thing saying you feel like you're a girl." And you get to go on the road, and you get to start, and you get to play, and you get to win. Oh, and by the way, you can shower with all the girls when it's all done. I mean, the recruiting of secular, atheistic, godless schoolmasters that will abuse this. They'll find ways to abuse it for their advantage, not just the boys that are going to school.
You made a comment a minute ago about the feelings, going about feelings. And it's funny how they want their feelings to be honored, but when your faith is a feeling, and when I start talking about my faith, they want to talk about facts. But when I talk about facts, they want to talk about feelings. And it's amazing. California is just the beginning. It's going to spread its way across the country, and it's just that's what we deal with. And we just got to pray that the people of California will take this opportunity to do like some famous politicians and let this be the stand that I can say, if you're listening to California and you're thinking about becoming a politician and you're a Christian, do it. Now's the time to step up and say, we need something to be done. Something's got to be happening. And we need some really awesome Republicans coming out of California like Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon.
And I appreciate the sentiment there, Jonathan. Thank you for the call, although I will caution you, Ronald Reagan signed the no-fault divorce law, so there's really no partisan here that is truly free of scandal or of blemish. If we put our faith in political parties, we're setting ourselves up for vast disappointment, and that's what I told the Family Leadership Summit over the weekend. No, what we need to do is grow people of character. We need to grow people of sound mind, of truth. We need to grow individuals that decide to take leadership in the culture and in society, utilizing that sound mind and that character and that truth for the welfare of the society. Because, friends, right now we're in a cesspool. Right now we're in a sewer stream. And people that don't believe that are ones helping the pollution to continue to be dumped in there greater and greater amounts. 888-589-8840. Transgender school bill has been passed and now signed into law by Governor Jerry Brown, in which boys or girls, if they feel like they are the opposite gender on any given day, can use the opposite locker room and can shower with the opposite gender person. And here's kind of the tough part for the pro-family forces in California. Both the Pacific Justice Institute and the California Family Council, and those are both strong pro-family groups that are in California. Neither one of them can bring any litigative action until harm's been done. There's nothing proactive that they can argue before a court that says this is hurting people until they actually have someone that actually demonstrates a violation being done. So what happens if these students that we live in this day and age just dig this instead of their parents be concerned about the damage that it will be done? What if you don't have a child that comes forward and says, we don't want this anymore? Friends, this is concerning, and it's that issue of sexual liberties versus religious liberties, and sexual liberties are being encouraged by the activists to be protected above all else, including the right to practice your faith. I'm Kevin McCullough, AFA Today. More of your phone calls next.